Hello, everybody. It is 8:25 a.m. Central Time on the 8th of November, 2020. It is Sunday here in the United States. Got some breaking news for everybody. A rare 4.0 range earthquake just struck over on the east coast of the United States in Massachusetts. So let's go get a display capture open here, and I'm still waking up. If I have morning voice, please accept my apologies. But let's go pull the coordinates. Here we are, Bliss Corner, Massachusetts. You want to talk about them being goofy on purpose, but let's not go there with the USGS. They're rejoicing, of course. Let's go put the coordinates in and go see where we're going. Massachusetts. Out here in beautiful Massachusetts, right up here. You guys know where this location is? This is right next to some of our most famous locations, where they've got the big houses up in the northeast. You've got a lot of very rich people that live up here, the estates. You've got a lot of our political leaders that have locations up here. Anyway, we're right here, right on the edge of the North American Craton. Now look at that. Do you see that? Rhode Island methane explosion. Do you guys remember this from several years ago? I don't even remember how many years ago it was. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 years ago. Methane explosion happened right over here on the coast, and it came up out of the ocean, right on the seashores. And it was a big deal. There were people that I think got sick from the methane that was coming up. I don't think they got hurt, but there was an explosion too that came up with it. And at the time when the methane explosion happened, coming up basically out of the seashore, professionals came in and told us about methane, how that can come up from deposits that are down in the ground. But they tried to say it was from layers of sand. Remember that in the story, that they tried to say it was from layers of sand that they had put down. It was an artificial beach, and apparently things got buried or whatever. Okay, so that was a long time ago. We're right next to it. We are right next to it. And we are on the edge of the Craton. So the Craton is in motion. We know that for certain, 100%. But I also just want to look around the area where the earthquake is, see if there's anything else of any significance nearby. Always good to go check. So for instance, here's just to give you an idea, like we're talking Great Gatsby level houses out here. I am not exaggerating. I mean, look at that. It's like a straight up mansion. And it's not like a McMansion that in a suburb or something. This is like the real deal kind of mansion. I wonder if there's even street level on these. Yeah, of course not. It's a private subdivision all the way out to the peninsula there. So here we are. I don't see anything else of any significance nearby. So there's no huge power generation stations. No major high voltage power lines in the area. Just regular power lines going out. Okay, well, again, we have to look. We do have to look at those, just because there's been so many other earthquakes nearby where the high voltage power lines are. You can certainly bet they're not there right next to those mansions. So a 4 on the edge of the Craton, and look at the energy coming across the plate. We just had a 4 over on the west coast, over in Idaho, yesterday, on the western edge of the Craton. And then a spread of 3s going across the plate over the past few days, connecting between, let's not forget, Colorado got hit today with a 4.0 earthquake. Well, it's listed now as 3.8. And this is something that happens on a somewhat regular basis. We see Colorado get hit, and we see the East Coast get hit. Let me take you back in time. Right here in southern Colorado in 2011, a 5.9 earthquake struck right where the red arrow is, the backside of it, at the pumping operations down in southern Colorado at Trinidad. 12 hours later, after the 5.9 in Colorado, a 5.9 struck here in Virginia. Mineral, Virginia. And it shook up the entire East Coast and caused damage. Now here we are today, and first this earthquake struck over in Colorado, then this earthquake struck over in Massachusetts. So let's just go see, let's get the coordinates and go see what's at the location in Colorado. And notice they have it triangulated from Utah, but the earthquake is certainly on the Colorado side of the border. Pretty interesting they would do that too. Need to update that algorithm in the computer, guys. Triangulate from the state that the earthquake is in. Okay, here we are. And look where we are. See the town? There's a town called Bedrock right next to it, and Paradox. So there's no reason to triangulate from La Salle all the way over there in Utah. But there's something right here at the earthquake epicenter. I know because we've looked it up previously. So zooming in on the area, you're going to see this little pad out here in the back country. You'll see these water ponds, and you'll see tanks and pipelines and pumps and jacks. And a little power supply there too. Now these are fracking operations that they're doing right there at Bedrock, Colorado. So it's a drill point. That's what that is, and no doubt about it, the earthquake is coming in right next to the drill point, right at Bedrock. So, pumping operation hit in Colorado. Here, let's get all the other earthquakes out of there. Pumping operation, 4.0 range earthquake, which they downgraded, of course, but it's a 4. So 4 here first, then over on the east coast, all the way on the edge of the craton, right along the edge of the accretionary plane going out into the ocean, the continental shelf, basically. And it's 2 of the same size quakes within hours of each other. When did this one strike in Colorado? 11:19 UTC. And this one struck at 14:10. So 3 hours later. They're 3 hours apart, and the distance is huge. The flow going across the plate can be traced back to the west coast, which, like I said, at a 4.0 earthquake yesterday on our arrow coming in out of Idaho. And, of course, we can trace that even further back all the way over to the Juan de Fuca fracture zone, which is moving right now with the tremors. So it's a spread, pretty obvious, going from Idaho through Colorado, down to Texas, back to Oklahoma, back over to the Midwest, across Illinois and Missouri, and then all the way to the East Coast. So it's 4s on the West Coast, 4s on the East Coast. The whole plate has been displaced on a 4.0 range basis in the past 2 days. Not even 2 days. This is 36 hours. So day and a half. Right here. And again, look at the match between the craton coming out of Idaho, going down through Colorado, going down through Texas, back up. Come on. It's a perfect match. The only thing that's missing here is a drill point on the East Coast somewhere or some kind of power generation station right there. And I might just have old imagery on the East Coast. Maybe they have built some kind of wind farm right out there out in the ocean. But as it stands right now, it's a spread of earthquakes going across the plate on a 4.0 basis, where the whole United States has just been displaced 4.0. Up to the north, we have major activity over the past 2 weeks up in Alaska, 7.5 earthquake or 7.6, with tsunami and 5s coming into the edge of the plate up yesterday up in Alaska. Also, 6s, 6.1 struck right after my update yesterday. And the 6.0 that was down here at Antarctica, we talked about that yesterday. An equal spread of mid-range 4s, and I'm talking really actually upper 4s. So look, 4.5, or wait for this to refresh. Central America, South America, I'll highlight them for you. 4.5 up here, very far north. 4.5 here, 4.7 here, 4.7 here, 4.7 here. Notice anything? 4.7 here. So it's the same sized activity going from Mexico all the way down here to Chile. And to top it all off, a world away, the opposite side of the planet, over here in Indonesia, a new volcanic alert has just been put out in the past few hours over in Indonesia from Mount Merapi that there could be some kind of catastrophic blast getting ready to take place. That's from the actual volcanic alert center over there. You know what? Hold on. Let me get that open. You guys probably should just see it yourself. Let's go over to the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center and go down the list and find Merapi. There it is. Information has been received from the CVGHM, which is the Volcanic Monitoring Agency there, suggesting that a significant eruption may be imminent. Refer to the VAAC, the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center, in Darwin. Summary for further information. Is there another one? There's not another one on here, so we'd have to go over to Darwin to get more information. That's, I think, out of Australia. But right in here, now I don't exactly know where Merapi is, so we do need to just pay attention to that as well. Let's go see. This is how you find out. I need to remember. Okay, Mount Merapi, right in the middle of Java. All right, pretty easy to remember. Merapi in the middle of Java. And that's not good for Java. So Java is right here, right at the tip of our arrow. So watch out at Merapi on top of everything else that's going on. And then Japan had fives. I mean, this has been a pretty busy last 48 hours. It was off for a week. Come back and this starts taking place, including the East Coast rare earthquake in Massachusetts. But force across the plate, I mean, this happens when the plate gets inundated with force or power. You start seeing the same sized activity on both sides of the plate within a couple days of each other. This is like the 1,000th time this has happened. Maybe, oh, okay, that's an exaggeration, but let's just say this has happened many dozens of times in the last 10 years that I've been making videos and live streaming. So when the plate gets inundated with power or force coming in from the northwest, Washington, Oregon, the whole plate starts to shift. And when the whole plate starts to shift, lo and behold, the whole plate shifts. And we get the same sized earthquakes going across within a hair of a point of each other, within a few days of each other. And the spots that are hit are volcanoes, like up at the magma chamber at Yellowstone in Idaho, on the edge of the craton. Drill points down here on the edge of the craton in Colorado. I didn't look up the points down in Texas, but everybody knows about Texas and the drill points there. It's like Saudi Arabia. Millions of drill points, especially right at the spot where the earthquake is. You go look it up if you need to. Then going over to Oklahoma, same thing. Tens of thousands of drill points. Once you get beyond there, though, you get over into the New Madrid seismic zone with Missouri. And I looked this one up, and this one up, all three coming in right next to high voltage power lines. Pretty interesting on that. Then, East Coast, this is strictly on the edge of the craton. I would call this just natural force going across the plate, seeking out a weak point on the edge of the plate. Now we get back over to the spot and, we could maybe go study the area a little bit more and see if anything's going on, naturally speaking, or man-made. Bliss Corner, Massachusetts. When the USGS triangulates coordinates like these at a certain time. Oh, and by the way, look, they have a tsunami warning, but that's not a warning. That's just a little tab to show us they're reporting the earthquake. Interesting that they do that, right? Okay, let's put the coordinates back in and just go over to the East Coast one more time and just take one last look at it. Rare Massachusetts, Bliss Corner. Yeah, Bliss. Sure, whatever you say, guys. All right, we're not going to be able to get down this road to see this mansion of a house down at the end of the pinnacle tip, but you know what? That looks to me like it's just begging to get washed away in a tsunami at some point. Now, where are we? Allen's Pond. Again, I don't see anything here, but you guys know there was a controversy about building some kind of wind farms out here somewhere on these islands. Now, again, what? What? It even has a shadow where there were... I don't know, guys. I don't know. Don't know. Don't want to know. Don't ask any questions. Sometimes it's better not to ask questions. I'll leave that up to some other people who are enterprising and want to go try to figure out what's going on there. I'm not going to go full mud flood on you yet. We're not going to say hashtag Tartaria yet, but I won't say never either. You know what I mean? Okay, all right. Now we're getting into the esoteric level of an update. Hey, good morning, everyone. Did I mention I just rolled out of bed? Am I still dreaming? Hey, you know what? On that note, let me just remind you guys to have an earthquake plan. Over on the East Coast even, you need to know what to do when an earthquake strikes, because anything bigger than a 4 can come in, and if you have anything bigger than a 4, you might be looking at something that could cause damage. And if you get damage in an area that has a lot of brick or stone structures, let's say you live in a metropolitan area around here. So what's the nearest metro area? Well, I guess I need to turn my borders and labels back on. Providence, Rhode Island, or New Bedford. I guarantee you a lot of the houses that are around here are stone stack. brick or cobblestone, or at least they have facades and chimneys on the sides. Now, you have a lot of wood frame structure houses, of course, but even then, you might be built on top of a stone stack foundation, one of these older houses. And that's big enough. 4.0 and greater is big enough to cause damage. Might even make you have to go outside for a second, depending on what kind of structure you're in. Another example, 4.2 earthquake in Oklahoma at the right depth, really shallow, and I guess at the right angle, knocked down chimneys, knocked facades off houses, and injured people. That was a 4.2. So you're right there at that level, at that 4.0 range. And it's just something to pay attention to. You need to have an earthquake plan and, of course, an emergency kit in case the power goes out, in case you go outside in the winter or in the summer, that you would have it seasonal specific, and that would cover you and the people that are in your family or household. Or if you're at work, I guess you could have one at work too. So recapping one more time, 4.0 earthquake just struck over here on the East Coast. And yesterday, a 4 struck over here on the West Coast. And it's been a minute, so we haven't seen 4s go across the plate in a while. And at the same time all that's going on, the plate, North American plate, is shifting. Big time shifting, not just a little bit. We're talking 6, 7, 800 tremors per day. Oh, wait, hold on. Did I say 6, 7, 8? How about 1,101 as of yesterday? And the spots have increased. We've now multiplied into 3 spots. It was 1 spot up in Washington. Then it spread down to California. Now it's spreading into Oregon. Now all 3 spots here, this spot in Oregon, this spot in California, and this spot up to the north, correspond with the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. Look at the pinnacle points here in the Juan de Fuca. The pinnacle north point points right into the Strait of Juan de Fuca, North Washington. And the southern point points into, well, lo and behold, it points into southwest Oregon. And the very far southern point comes in and goes down into California. And compare those spots to these spots. Pretty obvious. All the spots correspond to the pinnacle points out at the Juan de Fuca, which, getting back to the USGS map, the Pacific plate here has these jagged edges that are pointing into the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. And with the Pacific plate in motion, and energy transferring across where the red lines are, comes down into the Juan de Fuca and pushes into North America. And we're shifting, shaking, and shimmying and vibrating as the plate is moving. These are not really earthquakes, they're more vibrations as the plate is shifting. So 1,101, we can go back the day before, you're going to see the middle spot disappear. So 2 days ago, it was just both perimeters, north and south. Then yesterday, it add in the middle, or south middle. Now what's going to happen today? If this drops off, we see the slow slip, slow down, and stop, then that's when we really look for a compensation to take place. But now hold on. As this is pushing into the plate, got to remember this, the craton, and the flow across it. So now it makes sense. This spot's shifting and pushing in. Let's go back to the other map. This is shifting and pushing into North America, where then energy flows across the plate all the way and tries to distribute across the plate evenly. And so I want you to think of it like this. How much energy do you think it would take to displace all of North America in a day, 1 day's time, 24 hours, between Idaho and Massachusetts, down through Colorado, to displace the whole Colorado Rocky Mountain Range, for instance, on a 4.0 range basis, down to the drill points down in Texas? Now, the spacing on this is the final thing I want you to take away. The spacing, pay attention to this right here. The standing wave in a tank. As the standing wave is spreading through the tank, instead of the waves getting disorganized and all chaotic, they actually organize and start to grow in power or amplitude. And I can just park my mouse right over the middle of one of these waves. And as the waves increase, what you'll notice is that, well, check it out. Each wave fills in its previous fulcrum point, its previous middle point, where the previous valley, the peak, goes to. And as it increases in power, of course, the waves get higher, or taller, or more power in them. Now compare the wave tank in that laboratory to here. and imagine these as each peak of a wave. Now, we start on one end and we push in with the 4.0 range energy. We spread out across the tank. We might lose a little bit of energy by the time it gets to the other end, but then another push comes in and keeps the wave going. And that's been happening all week, and it's increased now. We've gone up to 4.0. It started at 2.0 going across the plate, all the way up into Maine. That was this past week, like 6 days ago. So 2s first went across the plate, then 3s across the plate. You got to remember what happened 3 days ago. And a 3-point-something earthquake struck up here in southeast Quebec. So it went from 2s to 3s to 4s. Now going back to the wave tank, it went from a small wave, or wait, let's take this back to where it starts. See, just a little ripple, and then you add more in, and it starts to get bigger. And by the end of the week, boom, we're getting hit pretty hard with same-sized earthquakes going all the way across the Craton, coming from where the wave tank first pushes in, up here. So kind of, you know what, let's get back to the wave tank. This thing down here, or, well, theoretically, both of these, can push into each other. Just literally just push. They're linear. They just only go one way. They just go sideways, back and forth. And they can push at each other or pull away from each other, which creates the wave. One of them can do it, or both of them can do it. And as these things push more in, of course, the amplitude increases. Now wait, let's go back here. Imagine this is the wall pushing in this way. And out here, this is the other wall pushing in the other way. And I've got my arrows on the map to indicate that. So wave tank, or again, if we're using the wave tank analogy, we're hammering in on this side, and we're hammering in on this side, which is creating a standing wave that goes across the North American Craton. But it happens on all plates this way. So we have the equal spacing of the same-sized earthquakes across Central America. Like I showed you, 4.5, 4.5, 4.7, 4.7, 4.7, 4.7, all the way down to our travels underneath point. And then down to the south, we have our bigger activity that came over straight across. It came straight across this way, and it broke across this way and spread out like a wave tank. Pretty amazing that's going on. So East Coasters, guys, I'm serious. I'm totally serious on this. You need to have an earthquake plan. Oh, Craton diagram, sorry. You need to have an earthquake plan. Let me make sure that Craton diagram's off. That thing's stubborn sometimes. Or the button that I'm pressing. Well, it can't be the button I'm pressing because I've changed buttons. Yeah, it's just a stubborn diagram. I don't know why. Maybe that's the way they're getting in through. It's loaded with USGS spyware. The Craton diagram. Okay. So now let me just tell you guys this. We're going to watch throughout the day today to see if anything else spreads out across the plate. If anything more significant takes place, I would already call Colorado's pumping operation at Bedrock and the East Coast over at Bliss, whatever, Massachusetts, that's significant in its own right. That's something that should make the news on the East Coast and maybe even across the whole nation. We do not see 4.0 range activity on the East Coast much. Only when the plate is seriously inundated with a lot of power. Again, how much power do you think it would take to displace everything from the East Coast in Massachusetts all the way back over to Idaho in a 24-hour time period, displacing all of the Colorado Rockies and down through Texas in between? A lot. It's the same amount of power, again, that would take to push a whole plate. And that's a lot. So we have to look for further compensation to take place on either side of the area that's shifting. And what are the sides of the areas that are shifting? Well, as far as I can tell, one side over on the West Coast, over on the Pacific Northwest, off the coast of Washington, Oregon, California, Vancouver Island, where there's no earthquake activity right now, but the plate is shifting, and we have 5.0 range and 7.0 range from 2 weeks ago, back up behind it. The flow is across the plate this way. So we could see much larger. And I've made references to this over the past 2 days since I've been back. Yeah, I've already been back 48 hours, guys, and look what starts to happen. Yes, I've got my crystal ball. A viewer sent me a crystal ball, and it's in my rock collection. I don't use it much, but when I do, watch out. Couple that with my Tesla earthquake machine, and nobody can stand or resist. Again, it's 8:50 a.m. Central Time now, and I'll be back if anything else goes down. Please be safe, word up, much love, and I will debut this as a video over on YouTube in just a few, probably like 10 or 15 minutes. We'll get this out over on YouTube. By the way, thank you to everybody on Twitch who has been subscribing and supporting my operation. I get financially compensated from you guys over on Twitch. Thank you very much. And big shout out to the people on YouTube who have been sharing my information and getting it out to the world to a point where it's actually having an effect. People are getting the warnings. People are taking note. Even some people in the mainstream media, not that we want to even impress them, I'm not even worried about them, but just they're even noticing. So it's really a big deal for the people that are sharing it in social media. Thank you. And it's not just YouTube. It's YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and even on the other services now, the other new popping up services that are kind of accommodating to more controversial talk. All those places, you guys are doing a great job. Thank you very much. And if anything goes down, you can count on me being back on here to give you an update either way. And I'm glad all of you are doing well. Again, I told everybody yesterday, I'll tell you all again today, be safe, don't freak out, have a good week, let everybody do their job, and go with the flow, man. And again, if anything big goes down earthquake-wise, you can count on me to be back on here. Peace out.